All right, dude, what do you got?
Okay, so First John is the first epistle of, or first letter of 3 letters that are attributed to John. It may be John the Apostle, the disciple of Jesus, or it may be someone who's referred to as John the Elder, who could be a separate person, or this just another name for John the Apostle. There's actually no name for the apostle in the letter. It's just, or from the sender. It just says, it just appears as a letter.
It's more of a homily than a letter, a sermon probably addressed to a whole series of churches and taken around, associated with St. John, the Gospel writer, because the language is so similar, particularly to the prologue of John's Gospel.
It's primarily an exhortation or encouragement to this community. Here's some things that we've taught you in the past, like loving one another. That love is a commandment, and we encourage you to keep in that commandment. It's also the first text that we have in the New Testament makes reference to Antichrist, which becomes popular, well, it's still popular in theology.
And so one of the central messages of this letter is that God is light and in him is no darkness at all. And for this reason, people associate John with a Hellenistic Greek philosophical background, though much of this talk of light had already entered the Jewish world, which was highly Hellenized.
John the Elder refers to this, how the Antichrist will come and how many Antichrists have already gone out from the community. And then he explains what he means by Antichrist. He says it's any person who denies the Son or the Father. So the Son being Jesus and the Father being God. That is Antichrist. And then later he clarifies that whoever denies that Jesus came in the flesh is Antichrist.
There is an emphasis on being cleansed from sin. If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. Those words were taken up into the Anglican Book of Common Prayer, and quite a lot of the Book of Common Prayer's introduction to confession from its communion service can be found straight out of this letter. People often speak of this letter and its emphasis on walking in light and being a child of light or being a child of darkness with what's called dualism, which means the belief that there is a force of light and a force of darkness. I think that's unfair because we're told that gradually the darkness is just disappearing as the light is spreading. So light has a completely positive quality and a kind of sense in which the eschaton, the last times, the coming, the second coming, is already beginning to happen.
You see what's happening in this letter very early on is that John seems to be working against a developing theological group known as Gnostics, and Gnosticism will become sort of popular, a growing movement in the late 1st, early 2nd century.
John speaks very intimately to what he calls his children. Little children, love one another, for love is of God. These very simple, intimate phrases are very central to the New Testament message, and they're repeated again and again in this letter. So in between the sense of a crisis caused by people traveling around, coming and saying that Jesus didn't actually come in the flesh, what we might call the beginning of Gnosticism, a belief that the material world is evil.
There's so many different forms of Gnosticism, but a general idea within it is that there's a secret wisdom that's been given by God, and that's where the word Gnosticism comes from. It's the Greek word gnosis, which is knowledge. And he's sort of trying to combat this. It's not secret knowledge, it's something that's been revealed. We know what it is. It's not just some esoteric teaching that's for a select few, it's for everybody.
John emphasizes the fact of the incarnation, that Christ came in the flesh. But if we are born in him, we are born to a kind of new life.
So he encourages this group, look, here's what we've taught you. Continue this teaching, continue to love one another. You don't really need to be warned about this because you're doing it, but just so you know, this is the commandment that we've had.
I'm giving you a deep philosophical analysis of a simple book. I'm trying to show that there is a depth to it, though, because you can just sort of say, you know, God is love, little children love one another. Sounds quite trite, but it's actually about living the life of God. And this is a strong philosophical statement, as well as simple and very positive. I love the way he says, fathers, you know the fatherhood of God. Children, you know things about God. Young people, you're strong. So it has this sense of direct address to different groups within the church, but quite radical, because in the ancient world, children do not count.
Is it generally held that it's written by the same person who wrote the Gospel of John, and does that matter?
It matters that it comes from that world, and I see no reason why it shouldn't be written by the same person. There's certainly a tradition that it was, that goes back to Irenaeus in the end of the 2nd century, who knew Polycarp, who knew John. And it all kind of traces back in that line of tradition. And it's a very beautiful tradition, and I see no reason not to accept it.